Hello, and this E-CISE demonstration is the hip crossover stretch. Now from here you want to make sure you have your client first lay on the ground flat on their back. The second step is to raise your client's feet so they're flat on the ground, facing forward. Third step is to make sure that their arms are at shoulder level length, pointed straight across from each other. Bring it down. Palms out the ground. Once you've got your client in this position, they are ready to now do the fourth step to take the left leg and cross it over the right and let it rotate down towards the ground. Once it's actually hit the ground, go ahead and take your left leg and push it away from your hip towards the wall and rotate your head to the left. Now you're going to hold this E-CISE for about 1 minute. You want to make sure that your client breathes. Don't hold any breaths, take nice deep breaths, relax the body. Good job. So from here, go ahead and have your client raise their leg back over to flat on the ground. Now do it on the opposite side. And just rotate it down to the ground. Take the leg, push it away from the hip towards the wall, and rotate the head the opposite direction. You always want to make sure your client does it on both sides because the body is a bilateral unit. Okay, go ahead and raise your leg back up, lay it back on the ground, and that's it. This is the hip crossover stretch. Hello everybody, this E-CISE is called the CROCODILE. Now the first thing you want to do is make sure to have your client lay flat on the ground, having their toes pointed towards the ceiling. Second step is you want to make sure you take their arms and put them at shoulder level length. Put the palms facing down, so go ahead and straighten them out. There you go. Now once you get your client in this position, the third step is what you want to do is take the client's left leg and put their heel on top of their big toe on their right foot. Now in this position you want to go ahead and rotate your heel while these are both together on top of each other. You want to make sure that the thighs and the butt muscles are flexed. And once you get in this position, rotate your head in the opposite direction. Now here you want to make sure you're breathing, keeping the client's legs straight, tight, and flexed with the heel on top of the other foot. Now go ahead and bring it back down. You're going to repeat the same steps, go in the opposite direction. Rotate over, turn your head over, make sure your thighs and legs are flexing. Breathe. Once the client is holding for about 1 minute, go ahead and return the leg back to its original position. And that's it. This is called the CROCODILE. Hello, and this E-CISE demonstration is the upper spinal floor twist. The first thing you wanted to have your client do is lay on their side. In this situation, this client is laying on the left hand side. You want to make sure that their legs and their knees are faced straight ahead at a 90-degree angle, and make sure that their arms as well are clapped together and pushed straight at a 90-degree angle. Alright, once you have your client in this position, go ahead and take their opposite arm, their right arm, and rotate it over their body, over their head at a 90-degree angle, right across from their body. So you may need a mirror to adjust yourself just to see, or you can have a buddy to show you, but you want to make sure it's parallel at shoulder level length. If your hips and your knees are going to be raising off the ground, you can go ahead and take the opposite arm, I'm sorry, not this arm, the left arm, and push down to hold it down to the ground. From here you want to make sure once you get in this position, have the client rotate their head to the right and breathe. Now you're going to hold this E-CISE for about 1 minute. Okay, once you've had your client do one side of the upper spinal floor twist, you want to make sure that they rotate and do the other side of their body. Now, once they've rotated, you want to make sure again that their legs are at a 90-degree angle. Better bring it up just a little. that their arms are pointed straight across. Now when the client rotates, again, rotate on the opposite side of the body, stretch it across. And if your lower body cannot stay level to the ground, go ahead and take your right arm and hold it over your thighs and your knees so it stays flat to the ground. Now from here, you're going to rotate the head the opposite direction, hold, and make sure that you're breathing during this E-CISE for about 1 minute. And this E-CISE is the upper spinal floor twist. Hello, and this E-CISE is the assisted hip lift. From here, you want to make sure that your client is laying flat on the back, close to a wall. Once you get him into the client in this position, you want to have the client put their feet at a 90-degree angle with their toes facing towards the ceiling. You want to make sure that they have a good amount of space, about shoulders width. Okay, once you got the client in this position, go ahead and have them raise their arms at a 90-degree angle, a shoulder level length, straight, palms on the ground. And then from here, you're going to go ahead and take your client, take their left leg, cross it over their right, and you're going to take your left knee and push it away from your hip towards the wall. Hold this E-CISE for about 1 minute. You want to make sure you relax your shoulders and breathe really well. Okay, now from here, go ahead and put your foot back onto the wall. Switch over and do it on the right leg. You're going to repeat the same E-CISE again, holding your breath and relaxing for about 1 minute. And this E-CISE is called the assisted hip lift. Hello, and this E-CISE is the supine, foot circles, and point flexes. From here, you want to make sure that your client is laid, again, flat on the ground with their toes pointed towards the ceiling. Once you get the client in this position, you want to go ahead and have the client raise their right leg towards them, and you want to, again, reach for a 90-degree angle. So go ahead and keep in this position with the toes pointed again towards the ceiling. Same thing with the opposite foot, always keeping your toe pointed towards the ceiling. Now once you get your client in this position, the goal is to have the client rotate their ankle in one direction, so you can have it do either clockwise or counterclockwise 40 times, rotating. The goal is to get good range of motion, having a good full circle turn in one direction, and then you can change it up by going the opposite direction 40 times. And again, focusing on the good range of motion. Once the client is done 40 times to the left, 40 times to the right, then go ahead and have the client go ahead and do point and flex 40 times as well. Having the client breathe and relax their shoulders and their body, and pointing up and down towards the ceiling. Now be cautious. Sometimes you gotta make sure that your left foot doesn't drift up. You want to make sure the toe is always pointing straight to the ceiling. Once the client is done 40 to the left, 40 to the right, and 40 point flexes, go ahead and have them relax the leg. And go ahead and repeat the same steps on the opposite side. Bring it to a 90-degree angle. Toes pointed straight to the ceiling. And go ahead and rotate. 40 times to the left, 40 times to the right, 40 times point flex, and then relax. Go ahead. Okay, and this E-CISE is supine foot circles and point flexes. Hello, and this demonstration is standing arm circles. The first thing you want to do is make sure you have your client stand about hips width apart. Now for once you get your client to this position, this next step is to have them extend their arms parallel, about shoulder level length. Now once you get the client in this position, go ahead and have them give it into the golfer's grip, which is having the knuckles curled with the thumb facing extend forward, palms facing the ground. Now have the client, before rotating, you're going to have them try to have their shoulder blades touch and rotate in 6-inch circles 40 times forward, while having them breathe and relaxing. Okay, once the client has actually done 40 repetitions in this position, go ahead and have them stop, rotate their palms upward, having their thumbs facing behind them, and do 6-inch circles backwards. Again, having the shoulder blades trying to touch each other, breathing and trying to keep them arms extended, arms locked, palms towards the ceiling. Okay, once the client has done 40 repetitions forward, 40 repetitions back, go ahead and have them rest their arms back to the side. And this is the standing arm circles. Hello, and this E-CISE demonstration is the standing windmill. The first thing you want to do is you want to make sure you have your client stand against the wall with their heels touching with the hips, with the shoulders, and with the head facing and touching against the wall. Here, second position is you want to make sure the client extends their arms out to shoulder level length with the palms facing straight ahead. You want to make sure that the client is standing about hips width apart, and they're going to bend left and to right like a 5 times. The goal is to make sure that the arms and the body and the hips are again standing against a wall, against the wall. The next position is you want to make sure the client now takes this 1.5 feet space between apart. And go ahead and have the client again, palms extended, arms extended out, palms facing forward, hips, ankles back against the wall, rotating. And repeat this E-CISE 5 times with a set of 1. Okay, third position is you want the client to stand about 2.5 feet apart. It's a good stand width, a little bit wider than your hips, arms extended out, palms facing forward. I'm going to repeat this E-CISE again 5 times, left and right, with a set of 1. Okay. Alright, so the last position in this E-CISE is that you want the client to return back to hip width apart and do the arms extended out with the palms, and just do the repetitions 5 times on each side, one last time. You want to make sure that they're actually bending. Good job. Once you've done this 5 times, go ahead and have them come back to the original position, relax, and breathe. Now, this E-CISE was a standing windmill. Hello, and this E-CISE demonstration is called air bench. The first thing you want to do is have your client stand against the wall with their heels, the hips, and the shoulders touching. From here, you have the client take a few steps forward. As they do, they're going to be sliding their back at the same time. And the goal is to get into a position where you're about 105 degrees, as if you were sitting in a visible chair. Now, your client needs to hold this position, breathing deeply for about 2 minutes, and they can either have the arms sit on the side, or they can have it on front on their thighs. Good job. Goal is to make sure you feel tension in your thighs, relaxing your back, feeling the weight on the front and the back of your toes. Nice and breathe. Okay, great. Once the client actually done this for about 2 minutes, go ahead and have them stand back up, get into the original position, just relax. And this E-CISE is called air bench. This E-CISE demonstration is called static extension. From here, you want to make sure to have your client get on the floor with their knees and wrists in line with their shoulders. So, go ahead. There you go. You want to make sure that the hips are aligned with the knees and that the wrists are aligned with the shoulders. Once you got the client in this position, the next step is to have the client take their hand and move it forward about 6 inches. Now, have the client roll forward, have them arch their back, pinch the shoulders together, and relax the head. You also want to make sure that the toes are facing forward, flat, having them breathe and relax in this E-CISE position for about 2 minutes. And again, if you need help getting in these positions, don't be afraid to grab a mirror or grab a buddy to help you get in the right alignment. Relax the body, the next. Okay, bring it back up. Go ahead and relax, get back in the original position. Once the client has actually done this and held this for about 2 minutes, have them breathe, relax, maybe take a few steps, walk around. But this E-CISE has been called a static extension. This E-CISE demonstration is called downward dog. The first thing you want to do is make sure you have your client on all fours with their knees and their wrists aligned with their shoulders and their hips, like so. The next thing you want to do is have the client tuck their toes underneath and go ahead and stand up, extending, tilting the pelvis forward, pulling away. The goal is to have your legs locked and extended. If they cannot touch the heels of the ground, it's totally fine, as long as their legs are extended and being stretched. Bend at the hips so that you're being pulled in for the pelvis. Breathe and relax. Now you're going to hold this E-CISE for about 1 minute, or as long as the client can. Once they've done that, go ahead and kneel it back down, bring it back to the original position, and relax. And this E-CISE demonstration is called downward dog.